أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بعد الهمم ولا يناله غوص الفطن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت معدود ولا أجل ممدود أما بعد فقد قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ويؤثرون على أنفسهم ولو كان بهم خصاصة ومن يوق شح نفسه فأولئك هم المفلحون صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات اللهم صل على محمد For the love of our beloved Prophet and his beloved progeny, a second loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. For the hastening in the return of our beloved 12th Imam, a third final loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. As we began the Dhulfaqar Sheathed series a couple of nights ago, on the first night, we spoke about the zuhd and asceticism of the first Imam, how he kept his distance and his distance with the pleasures of this world. This was the zuhd of the first Imam. On the second night, we started to talk about the justice of our beloved first Imam. And usually when a person is described to you having both of these characteristics, the zuhd that he carried and the justice that he followed in a hair-splitting manner, usually when you look at a character like this, you would assume that this person is a dry person. This person is a rigid person. It's a person who doesn't have much emotions, follows the law, and that's it. If you were to tell him that you don't want to follow the law, if you were to tell him you need help, if you were to ask him for assistance, this is a person who doesn't care much about these things. He'll look you in your eyes and say, listen, this is the law, that's it, don't talk to me anymore. Some of us might have relatives at times who back home might have been part of the army, for example, they grew up, or even back over here, you see sometimes people who grow up in the army, sometimes they end up being very dry, very rigid individuals, yes? People who don't have much emotions, people who don't care necessarily about your feelings and what you're going through. They'll tell you, listen, this is how it is, deal with it. Either you follow it or you don't follow it, and that is it. And when it comes to Ali ibn Abi Talib, you find that that is not the case at all. He is the one who has the greatest zuhd of all. He is the one who carries or follows hair-splitting justice, the type of justice that is extreme from our perspective. And yet, at the same time, he carries with himself a compassion and a mercy and a kindness that is also unmatched in its own right. Therefore, tonight we want to delve into and learn from our first Imam what it means to be compassionate, what it means to be kind, and have a masterclass on the compassion and the mercy of our beloved first Imam. And in order to do so, we'll pose the following questions. Number one, when the friend of Ali came to his house late at night and knocked on his door and gave him sweets that was essentially a form of a bribe, how did Ali respond to him, and what did Ali tell him? Number two, how did Imam Ali show his compassion? Through constantly teaching and guiding the people of his lands and his constituents. Number three, when Ali spent time with his own servant, Qambar, what did he do to show Qambar compassion and kindness? And specifically because Qambar was his servant and also because he was younger than Ali himself. And what lessons can we learn from this in how we treat our children and our youth? Number 4, when the Prophet needed help to serve a poor person in his community, and he had nowhere else to turn to, how did Ali and Fatima come to the rescue and give this person a shelter for that night and give from the things that they needed for themselves even? Number 5, what level of compassion and generosity do you find in the seerah of Ali and Fatima that you and I may never experience in our lives? And number 6, and finally, how did Imam Ali combine justice and compassion in one moment when guests came to his house? Tonight, inshallah, we'll delve into these 6 questions with a loud salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma. Ali, of course, was one who would follow the law. He believed in the letter of the law. And somehow he was able to combine this justice that he followed with compassion, with kindness, and with mercy. Sometimes people hear stories about our imams, whether it's the first imam or in also when it comes to the 12th imam and his reappearance. And one might assume mistakenly that this is a person who only cares about the law. If you were to go against him, if you were to make a mistake, that's it, it's over. So you hear, for example, they say about the 12th Imam that if you don't follow the law, he will hold you accountable. And one might walk away having this off-putting picture of the Imam, that this is a dry person, he's a rigid person, he's the person who only knows discipline and nothing else. And this couldn't be further from the picture of who the Imam truly was. Yes, Ali followed the law and he was very specific about it when it came to the rights of others. There's no doubt about this. And hence when his friend came to him late at night and knocked on the door, and Ali speaks about this in some of his khutbahs, and he says, let me tell you about something astonishing. When someone gave me a bribe and wanted me to sell my akhirah for the dunya. He says, this is very astonishing that this person expected me to take him up on this offer. This friend came, knocked on the door late at night, gave him sweets. And he said, Ya Ali, this is for you. And Ali asked him, he said, what is this for? Is this under which category? Is this zakat? Is this, what type of wealth is this you're giving to me? Because if it's zakat, it's haram upon us, the family of the Prophet. We don't take zakat. And this person turned to him and said, no, Ya Ali, innaha hadiyatun, it's a gift for you. But of course, a gift to the Khalifa of the time, yes, late at night, this is, of course, a setway or a gateway into bribing Ali. And so Ali says, I looked at this food and I told him, have you gone mad? Or are you possessed by jinn? Or are you hallucinating that you're expecting Ali to take this food and sell his dunya or sell his akhirah to his dunya? So Ali was very particular about this. He looked at the sweets. He said, these sweets look like the food that comes from the tree of hellfire. That's how I see it. Looks very beautiful to you. To me, it looks like the food that comes from the tree of Zaqum. Doesn't look like the food that you look at. So Ali was very open about this. At the same time, there was a compassion in his heart that was unmatched. Hence you find the Prophet Muhammadin al-Mustafa salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. He said about Ali, he said, Ya Ali, inna Allah ja'alaka tuhibbul masakin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you a gift where you just love those who are in need. You love the less fortunate, you love the destitute. And this is why, Ya Ali, they are happy to follow you and they are happy to have you as an imam. This is the compassion of the imam. How did the imam used to show this compassion? This is number 1. The first way that the imam used to show this compassion is that Imam Ali would never walk around and say, these are the laws of God, I'm done, I'll see you on the day of judgment. Either you follow it or you don't follow it, I'm gone. Part of the compassion of Ali was that he continuously interacted with the people of his time. Continuously tried to guide them. Continuously tried to remind them. And this is something that our dear parents can learn from Imam Ali. Amongst the many things that our dear parents have to improve on, this is one of them. that when you tell your children this is what you do, you don't throw a bunch of laws at them and then walk away. And then 15 years later, when they're no longer doing those things, all of a sudden you say, I wonder what happened. When he was 5, he was doing this stuff. When he was 7, he was doing this. When he was 12, he was doing this stuff. Now he's in high school, he doesn't want to do this stuff. Were you a part of his life throughout this time? Were you spending time with him throughout this time? Were you his best friend before he started to have these other friends? So Ali used to walk in the bazaar and he used to interact with people, and these are his constituents essentially, but he spoke to them as a kind father. So the narration says, this man says, I was in Kufa, I was in the masjid, I came out of the masjid. The moment I came out of this masjid, someone behind me looked at me because my clothes were dragging on the ground, and we said this was a sign of heavy wealth back in the day. He says all of a sudden someone called me from behind. He said, listen, pick up your clothing a little bit. It's better for you that your clothing doesn't drag on the ground like this. I looked behind, I saw a person, he's wearing an aba, something hanging from his shoulders, but I didn't know who this is. Who is this person who's telling me this is better for you, you should do this? So I saw he has a point, of course, but then I asked the other people around and I said, who is this? They said, it seems like you're not from Kufa. It's pretty clear you're not from around here. Otherwise, you know who this is. He said, yes, أنا رجل غريب. I'm not from this part of the country, the land. They said, yes, this is Ali. He walks around in the bazaar. He reminds people of what they need to do. So the man says, I followed Ali to see what he does. I went behind him. He continued. He went to the part of the bazaar where they sell camels. And he turned to them, he said, my dear people, when you sell your camels, sell. Make a profit. وَلَا تَحْلِفُوا. But don't swear left and right. Because when you swear left and right, this takes barakah from your life. Because then people don't care when you actually swear and you actually want to make a point to them, yes? You've seen these people who left and right, wallahi this, wallahi that. Wallahi bro, wallahi this. Wallahi this, wallahi that, yes? So he said, sell, وَلَا تَحْلِفُوا, because it takes your barakah away from you. And he continued on his path. He went to the part of the bazaar where they sell dates. He turned to these people. He said, sell your dates, but keep a little bit for the poor too. This will give you more in profits. This will bring you more sustenance. This is Ali guiding his people. This is compassion in action from Ali ibn Abi Talib. He continuously used to go back to his people. He gave to the people of the dates, he told them this. He was walking away, a kaniz is crying, a servant is crying. He said, why are you crying? She said, I'm crying because I bought some of these dates and I paid a dirham, but the amount I paid is very high. So now I go back to my master and I tell him, these are the dates I bought. He doesn't buy it from me. He doesn't take it from me. He says, you did something with the rest of this money. So Ali walked around and came to the person who had sold her these dates. He said, listen, take back the dates and let her have her dirham back. You sell your dates to someone else. She has a master. Her master won't accept this from her. So this person said, no, I'm not doing this. He insisted. He said, no. So the person narrating the story says, I turned to the seller of the dates. And I said, do you know who this is? He said, no, I don't know who this is. This is a random guy. He said, no, this is Ali. This is the Khalifa. All of a sudden, dropped the dates. Gave him the money. Now you'll pay attention when Ali allows others to introduce him and when Ali doesn't allow others to introduce him. You'll find that he has attention to detail when it comes to this. When he can help others, he's okay with other people introducing him. Then he continued, he went to the place where they used to sell the fish. He turned to the sellers of the fish. He said, listen, sell, but you don't have the right to sell fish that has already died while it was in water. This is not allowed to eat. It's not allowed to consume. He moved on. He went to the place where they sell cloth and clothes. And he turned to the people who sell clothes. He said, I need you to sell me a piece of cloth and a clothing for 3 dirhams. The person who owned the store, he turned to him and said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I'll do this for you, no problem. Then all of a sudden they saw Ali walked away. Say, Ya Ali, what happened? He said, no, no, no. He already knows who I am. I want to pay the 3 dirhams because this is what they are supposed to get for their clothing. And this person knows who I am. He's not going to take the 3 dirhams from me. He will bargain for less with me. See, here he's not okay with people knowing him. Over there, he's very much okay with people knowing him. See the difference? He went on, he went to the next person. He said, can you give me a clothing for 3 dirhams? He said, yes, ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. He walked away. Why, Ya Ali? He said, he knows me. He went, the narration says, he went to a ghulam. A ghulam is a young man. Yes, he doesn't know all the politics. He doesn't know who's an official, who's an authority, who's important, who's not important. Yes, his father had put him at the store. So he went to him. He said, Ya ghulam, will you sell me a shirt for 3 dirhams? He said, yes, I'll sell a shirt to you for 3 dirhams. No problem. Sold him the shirt. He put on this clothing. He said, Ya Allah, all praise belongs to you, alhamdulillah, that you gave me a clothes that is a means of adornment for me in public, and it is a means of protecting my body from the threats of nature. And he said this is a dua the Prophet used to do when he used to wear his clothing. The narration says the cloth was a little long. He cut the extra of the cloth. He moved on. He went to the masjid of Kufa. He was standing there with some of his other companions. Then all of a sudden, the father of this young man, who's the owner of the store, came running. He had a dirham in his hands. Ali is talking to his companions. He said, what is it? What's going on? He said, Ya Ali, you left this dirham. He said, why? He said, my son didn't know who you were. He was supposed to sell that to you for less than what he sold it to you. And Ali said, listen, no, I'm not taking back the dirham. I sold it and I bought it. And I agreed to it and your son agreed to it. Don't come back here with this dirham. If you didn't know, you'd think he is bargaining for less. And Ali was bargaining for more. He didn't want to use his position so that people would give him the better rates and then for the poor, put more pressure on them. So the first level of compassion that Ali had was that he had this constant guidance and education and reminders for his people. He didn't walk in with a book of laws, throw it in front of them and say, do this, and then on the day of judgment, I'll see you. This is not how Ali did things. Recite a salawat, please. Allahumma salli. The second level of the compassion of Ali is when he shows compassion and you see that he understands the mindset of the people he is dealing with. And he meets people where they are. This is the second level of his compassion. And you see this in the way that he used to deal with his young servant by the name of Qambar. This narration, narrated by Shia and by Sunni. Ahmad ibn Hanbal has narrated this in his book by the name of Fada'il al-Sahaba. It's a long book with many of the Fada'il of the Sahaba. And Ahmad ibn Hanbal, of course, the founder of the Hanbali school of thought, is well known to have said that the Fada'il we have heard about Ali, we have not heard about any other companion of the Prophets. This is from him. Asqalani narrates this from him in Fathul Bari fi Sharh Sahih al-Bukhari. Ahmad ibn Hanbal narrates, he says, Ali went out with his servant Qambar, and he has narrated a portion of this narration. He went out with his servant Qambar into the bazaar. He came to the place where they sell clothes and they sell cloth. He turned to the owner. He said, sell me some cloth. I need 2 shirts. Again, this person said, yes, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I will do it for you. He walked away. He said, you know exactly who I am. He found another person. He said, will you sell it to me? Each for 3 dirhams. He said, yes. He sold him the 2 pieces of cloth, the clothing. He started to walk away. And then Ali took the one that was better. And he turned to Qambar. And he said, Qambar, wear this one. And the one that wasn't so appealing, he started to wear it himself. And Qambar turned to Ali. He said, Ya Ali, my master, but you go up on the mimbar and you speak and you do this. People see your clothing a lot more than they see my clothing. You're supposed to take the better one. And Ali said, yes, but you know what it is? I'm embarrassed to dress better than you. This was his servant. He said, I'm embarrassed to dress better than you. And the other thing is that you are young. And because you're young, you have these aspirations and hopes and dreams. I'm older. I can live a simpler lifestyle. You're young, you like to look good, you like to look nice, so on and so forth. He gave him that piece of clothing. Recite a salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. If we can recite a salawat, and please, the brothers and sisters, please move forward. One more salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. One more salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He turned to Qambar. He said, this one is for you because you have sharahu shabab. You have that fire in you that when you're young, you want to present yourself in a certain way, you want to dress a certain way. And Ali, you see the flexibility that he has with Qambar. And this is something our parents need to learn from. Because there are times where our younger generation, because they come from a different time, because they come from a different place, they come from a different culture, they will ask for things that may not necessarily make the most sense to you. And what you have to look at is, number one, is this haram? No one is asking you to compromise on haram. If it's haram, you look at them and you say, no, we don't do this. This is haram. Oh, sometimes people say, oh, but the times have changed. If the times had changed, then the rules of Islam already have changed based on the times as well. Don't try to change the rules of Islam because the times have changed. It's already built into the faith. But if it's haram, it's haram. You don't compromise on it. You don't have to compromise on it. And I tell you, your children will respect you more if you don't compromise on it. This is haram, number one. Number two, if it's a really bad decision, it's going to affect their life very heavily in a negative way. Yes, you're the father, you're the mother, this is your role. You're supposed to be their eyes for things that they may not be able to see. Smaller things, it's okay. Bigger things, no, this is part of your role. You're supposed to stand there and say, no, listen, I'm telling you, this is going to ruin things. This is a serious issue. And it may not necessarily in every situation be haram. That's why I'm mentioning it as a second category. But if it's going to have a negative impact and it's something big, it's a big decision, you're supposed to make that clear to them. It's part of your role, and it's okay for you to go back to them multiple times. Listen, I told you this is not a good idea. This is how Ali used to do things as well. But then it comes down to smaller things. It's not haram. It's not ideal from your perspective. But he wants to do it like this. He wants his hair to look like this. You can tell him, listen, you look weird, but he's not going to buy it from you. That's okay. And Ali will tell you, you know what? He has sharahu shabab. He's young. He wants to do things in a certain way. It's okay. You let him do things in a certain way. This constant fine balance between making your point clear to your child and at the same time having that flexibility is a very difficult thing. It's a very difficult thing. Where do I get harsh and I say, no, this is it, and you put your foot down? And where do I play with it and I'm flexible with it? I'm not saying this is easy. This is very difficult. This is part of your reward as a father or a mother. But this is what Ali taught us. This is the second level of his compassion. The third level of the compassion of Ali, and this one we can learn many lessons from, is that Ali had compassion when things wouldn't go as planned. There are times in life you plan out everything, and then things don't go as planned. And then when things don't go as planned, there are people who will step up. They will immediately say, yes, I know the food is late here. You can take from our food. I know this didn't work out the way it worked out. You can go and rest in our room. This person who steps forward, this is how Ali was. The narration says the Battle of Jamal came to an end. The Battle of Jamal was a very lucrative one for Ali because on the other side, the battlefield happened very quickly. It happened in one day and it was over. And because of that, the money that Talha and Zubayr had in Basra and all of that, it immediately came into the hands of Ali. So the narration says he took all of this wealth, he started to divide it amongst the thousands of soldiers that he had, and to each person came 500 dirhams. Yes, 500 dirhamin. and to himself 500 dirhams too. Okay, great, so Ali is going to go back home. Now, this is the justice of Ali. We already discussed this last night, yes? This is justice. 500 coins for me and 500 for the rest. This is already groundbreaking. If you're the commander and the ruler and all of this kind. But Ali went further. Someone came at the very end. All the division is done. Someone came at the end. He said, Ya Ali, I wanted to make it to the battlefield, but I couldn't. Something came up. Something held me back. I couldn't make it. But all the wealth is already divided. So what did Ali do? Ali said, yes, come and take my 500 dirhams. You go walk away. Now I ask you, when things don't go well in our houses, you go on that vacation, you go on that trip, whatever the case might be, are you the one who steps up? You can have your Dhulfaqar chain, and you can have your Dhulfaqar tattoo, and you can have your 313 in your bio too. It's all cool and fine. But my question is, when things don't go well, do you stand up first and say, yes, take my food, you can take this, I'll stay up a little bit long? Are you the one who steps ahead? Because that's who Ali was. This is what we have to learn from Ali. The third level of the compassion of Ali is what? When things don't go well. When things don't go as planned, he is the one who steps up. The fourth compassion of Ali, Ali's compassion, the characteristic that it had, was that he would give quickly. Some of us, when we want to give, it takes us years. Let me see if this $5, if I need it, I don't need it, maybe my grandchild will need it, maybe I have to put it into an account for the next generation. And Ali used to give quickly. And the narrations tell us, when you want to do good, you have to do it quickly. Now, yes, sometimes there's life-altering decisions, and you want to give this huge amount, or you want to make a big change in your life. You should take your time to think about these things, yes? But small things here or there, you do it quickly. You don't hold on to it, because the narration says, the more you hold on to it, the more you give shaitan that time to come and talk to you, and all of a sudden the $20 becomes $10 and $5 and it becomes $4.30. So the narration says the Prophet got this wealth from some of the battles. He divided it amongst his people. And to Ali came a small piece of land. So Ali, being the one who he is, the zuhd that he has, he didn't use the land for himself. But then he started to produce wealth through that land. And he started to dig, and they saw Ali is working hard under the sun. Everyone else at home relaxing. And Ali is working hard under the sun. And he's digging. Ya Ali, why are you digging? He's looking for water, because if you strike water in the land of Arabia, this is a very scarce commodity. And he's digging, and all of a sudden struck water. The narration says the water gushed out of the ground. And they called it Yambu' because of how high it gushed out of the ground. And people walked by Ali. And they said, Ya Ali, congratulations, you struck gold now. You struck water, scarce commodity. And Ali said, you don't have to congratulate me. He said, go and congratulate the one who owns it. فَإِنَّهُ صَدَقَةٌ. I already gave it away. He said, فَإِنَّهُ صَدَقَةٌ. Ya Ali, congratulations. I already gave it away. And in some narration says he immediately grabbed a pen and a paper and he wrote that this is for those who are on their way to go and do Hajj, or on their way to go and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On their way, when they come here, they will benefit from this well, and no one has the right to close off this well forever. This is the concept of waqf. Ali gives quickly. This is number 4. Number 5, these are levels of the compassion that you and I now may not necessarily experience. But this is because Ali is that North Star. He has to set the standard so that thousands of years later, when I sacrifice for the faith, you sacrifice for the faith, you don't go home saying, oh my God, my sacrifice was something else. No, you look at Ali's sacrifice and then you laugh at your own sacrifice. Even if your sacrifice is big in and of itself, then you laugh at your own sacrifice. What did I do? What did Ali do? This 5th one is when Ali used to give from what he needed himself. This one Ahl Bayt don't necessarily expect from us because they know it's too difficult from us. You can give from extra, that's what Ahl Bayt expect from us. From that which you need, the bare necessities that you have in your own life, Ahl Bayt don't expect us to do this, but this is how they were. They themselves, this is exactly how they were. So the narration says the Prophet called out, maybe in his masjid, this poor person came, said, I need help. The Prophet sent to his own houses, to the houses of his wives. They all came back, they said, we have nothing in the house except for water. There's nothing. So we can't help this person. So the Prophet called out, he said, Man li hadha ar-rajul? Who's going to help this man? By himself, nobody else is going to help him. So Ali said, Ana lahu ya Rasulullah, I'll take care of him. So he head home. And on his way home, when he knocked the door and he came to Fatima, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayha, he said, Yabnata Rasulillah, O daughter of the Messenger of God. We have someone who's hungry. What do we have in this house? Fatima said, Ya Ali, we have nothing in this house. There's no food. Except there's one small meal, and that is for our sabiyya, that is for our little child. And Fatima said, وَلَكِنْ نُؤْثِرُ ضَيْفَنَا, but we'll figure out something. We'll prefer our guests. We'll figure out something. We'll do something. Ali brought the guests. Ali said, Fatima, go put the child to bed early tonight. He'll be asleep. And you all know when children sleep, they sleep until the next morning. He said, put the child to sleep. And when I come home, turn off all the lights. And I will tell my guest, everyone already done. Everyone is sleeping now. So you eat from this food that you have and then you sleep. And the narration says the next day the Prophet heard about this. He said, Ali, you're an example of those that the Quran says in Surah Al-Hashr verse 9, وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. They give even when they are deeply in need themselves. You and I don't understand this level of compassion. This is the level of compassion you and I may not ever experience in our lives. This is the 5th level of the compassion of Ali. The 6th level of the compassion of Ali is when he gives from his wealth before someone even asks. This one I don't think we'll ever do. He knows he needs something, so before he asks, he gives it to him. And the narration says there is this man, a worshipper, an abid, someone who used to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala quite a bit. He wasn't wealthy, he had needs, but he wouldn't come and ask Ali for much. So the narration says Ali took dates to his house. People objected to Ali. They said, Ya Ali, he didn't even ask you for anything. What dates are you taking to him? And look at what Ali said. Ali said, listen, if I go and I give him what he wants after he has asked me, then I would be taking away from him more than what I am giving to him. Ya Ali, what do you mean taking? You're not taking anything away from him. He said, if I give to him after he has asked me, then what I am giving to him are dates, but what he has already given me is his vulnerability. That face of his that is supposed to go down in sajda and be vulnerable to Allah, he has made vulnerable in front of me already. Hence, I will give to him before he asks me, because if I give to him after he asks me, I've already taken away more from him than what I would be able to give to him. And Ali said, this is how the believers are supposed to be when they pray for their brothers and sisters. They shouldn't be the type who prays for their brothers and sisters and says, oh Allah, help the believers and so on and so forth. But then when he knows he can help someone and knows someone has a need, he doesn't help until that person comes and begs him for it. Maybe your mother, maybe your father comes home, maybe your spouse comes home, yes? You know, when they come home, they need that cup of water, they need that rest. Let me tell you something, your spouse will definitely already appreciate. If you have children, Your spouse will definitely appreciate it if you'll take the children for a couple hours. They don't have to ask you for this. I'll speak on behalf of them. Am I right? Recite salawats. Allahumma salli. Maybe you went at home tonight and you gave for something you know your spouse wants, for something you know your parents want. Maybe you give before they even ask you. And this shows you the level of mercy that Ali had. This is that same Ali who shows compassion like this. It's the same one who the Prophet says, I didn't send him on any expedition except I saw Jibreel on the right side with thousands of angels, Mikael on the left side with thousands of angels, Malikul Maut riding behind Ali as he goes and he only comes back with victory. This is the same Ali. And somehow the compassion he carries is also unmatched. Who is the son of Abu Talib? I have no idea, and neither does any other person amongst mankind, except for another Ma'soom. Nobody understands who Ali is. You and I read stories and all of this. This is no, we don't understand who this man was. You are blessed to know who Ali was. I am blessed to hear this legacy that Ali left behind. And it is only Ali, brothers and sisters, who can combine justice and compassion in the same moment at the same time. You and I can be compassionate at times, we can be just at times, but it's only Ali, with the knowledge that he has and the compassion that he has, that can combine justice and compassion in the same moment at the same time. Where did this happen? The narration says, Imam Hassan al-Askari, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. He says, the followers of Ali are supposed to be like this. And he shares this story about what happened at the house of Ali. He says Ali was at his house. Guests came over for him. These guests that came over for him, these guests, there was a father and a son. It's not by himself. Two people. The father came over. Ali prepared the room for them. Before we continue, let's recite a salawat and move forward, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Ya. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The guests came over to the house of Ali, a father and a son. And Ali prepared the place for them. He showed them hospitality. They brought food for them. And Ali asked them to eat from the food, and they ate from the food. And as was customary at that time, after you ate from the food, you would wash your hands. Except the way you would wash your hands, they didn't have tap water back then. So someone would come with a pitch of water, hold this water above you, so that you would wash your hands and the water would pour into a dish and they would take it away. So all of a sudden the food is eaten already. And Ali turned to Qambar. He said, bring water so that we can wash their hands. Qambar brought his pitch of water. And as Qambar is approaching, all of a sudden they saw Ali got up. Ya Ali, why are you standing? Qambar is going to pour water. He's going to wash his hand. That's it. They saw all of a sudden Ali got up. He grabbed a pitch of water. He said, he's my guest. I'm going to pour water for him myself. The father saw this. The father said, Ya Ali, if God sees me in this position, you're pouring water, I'm washing my hands. What is God going to say? He said, listen to me, don't worry about that. If God sees you in this position, tell him I was helping Ali reach the heaven that he's promised him. This father agreed. He said, Ya Ali, if this is doing a favor for you, I'll do it. So he held his hands. And Ali started to pour this water, and this father started to wash his hands, except Ali saw that this father is not doing things the normal way. He's not comfortable. He's uncomfortable. Because Ali is pouring water on his hands, and he's rushing things. And Ali stopped, and he said, no, not like this. He said, please, by the right that I have on you, wash your hands as if qambar is pouring water on your hands. So the father said, sure, I'll do that, if this is what you're asking me to do. So he poured water and he washed his hands. And then it came time for the son of the guest to wash his hands. And all of a sudden, Ali put the pitch down. And he said, my son, Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, come wash the hands of the son of our guest, because Allah has taught me that He never wants the son and the father to receive the exact same treatment, because the level of the father is something else. There should be an advantage for the father, for the mother, for the parent. You come and wash the hands of our guest. If the son had come on his own, if he had come alone, I promise you, I would have been washing his hands. But Allah doesn't want the father and the son to be treated exactly the same out of respect for the father. This is Ali, who can combine justice and compassion in one moment. He shows compassion to his guests. And at the same time, he goes based off of hair-splitting justice between the father and between the son. And this is why Ali, when he was struck during these days and nights, this is why the angels in the skies had already started to mourn the pain and the betrayal that Ali was dealing with. And this is why you find Jibreel called out, "In tamasat wallah nujumus sama." The stars of the skies are going dark, and the flags of guidance, they are now falling. وَأَعْلَامُ التُّقَى, they are now falling. Who are they talking about? They're talking about the strike on the head of Ali. They're talking about the pain that Ali is going through in these moments. Imagine the city of Kufa, who used to be the city where Ali was the ruler, where Ali used to come and go. Now Ali has fallen in the corner of his house, and no one wants to come and visit Ali from those who before used to give salam to him and before used to praise him so much because he was Khalifa. And the narration says Ali was in his house, and some of the companions came and gathered around the house of Ali. They wouldn't leave because they wanted to see Ali. Imam al-Hassan came out and turned to these companions. He said, "My dear companions, go. My father is in too much pain. My father's wound is too deep. My father's pain is too much. He can't see you in these moments. Go home. Pray for my father because he's in a very difficult situation." And the narration says so many of them went back. Asbagh ibn Nubata says, "I stayed. And I wanted to see Ali in those final moments." Hassan came back to me again. He said, "Go, my father can't see you." I said, "Ya Imam al-Hassan, if I don't see your father, I won't be able to live with myself anymore. I want to see your father in these moments." Until Hassan finally gave me permission. And look at the scene that Asbagh describes for us. He says, "I went into this house, and this strong warrior, this man who everyone was afraid of in the battlefield, all of a sudden, he couldn't even sit up on his own. Every time he wanted to sit up, the children of Ali had to come and pick him up and put something behind him so his body doesn't fall down. I looked at Ali, and on his head was wrapped with an imama, but this imama was full of blood. As much as they would try to stop the bleeding of the head of Ali, they couldn't do it on those days. And then I looked at the face of Ali, and I saw he had lost so much blood that now this face was pale. The face of Ali looked white." He said, "The moment I saw this scene, I threw myself to the feet of Ali, and I started to kiss the hands of Ali, and I started to cry heavily in the presence of Ali." And Ali looked at me. He said, "Ya Asbagh la tabki." "Oh Asbagh, don't cry. فَإِنَّهَا وَاللَّهَ الْجَنَّةِ." I swear, this is my pass into heaven. I swear this is exactly what the Prophet was telling me, that I would leave this world and the blood has now come onto my beard in my final moments. What went through the heart of Zainab and Kulthum in those final moments? The narration says Ali gathered his family around him. He started to make his final wasiyah. He started to make his final will. And I'm sure every wasiyah that he made, more tears and more tears flowed from the eyes of his children. He said, "Allah, Allah fil Quran. Never leave the Quran alone." He said, "Allah, Allah fil salat. Never leave your prayer alone." And then he said some lines. Maybe the children of Ali couldn't take it anymore. He said, Allah, Allah fil aitam, the orphans. And maybe the children of Ali look at one another and they said, my father, your father, he did so much for these orphans. During these nights, he used to go around and bring food and water and milk to these orphans. He said, Allah, Allah fil fuqara, never forget the poor and the less fortunate. And maybe the children of Ali cry heavier and heavier until those final moments come on a night like this, where all of a sudden they see the hands of Ali has no more strength anymore. And Ali is getting unconscious and he's coming back until Ali takes the final breaths of his life. And all of a sudden everyone in this house is crying and mourning. It reminds you of those final moments on the 10th of Muharram, when Hussein came back to the tents and he said his final goodbye, and these women and children were witnessing Hussein go to the battlefield. And the only thing Zainab could say in those moments, she said, Mahlan mahla yabna Zahra, O son of Zahra, now that you're going, go slowly, this is too difficult for the children and women who are watching you. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلب